Okay, colleagues. Welcome back from the brief coffee break. And we're going to be starting with our deep dives and case studies to learn more about what is world over best practice. Best practice in class on doing anything related to what happens before fires. So we're focusing on the first 3 R's, which is review and analysis, building readiness and risk reduction in this session. And it will be moderated by Sanjay Srivastava, who's the regional manager of the Europe and Central Asia Division, Planet Division at the World Bank. And we have speakers from Korea, Australia, France. He will introduce them. We also have 2 speakers online, so just confirming whether they've joined us and they can hear us. Merve? Okay, great. And we will be providing you all at virtually the access. We're working on providing you access to actually project your slides and come in at the right time so you can have control over your slides virtually. This will be followed by discussants. So over to Sanjay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Leela. And thank you, gentlemen. Bit embarrassing that it's all men panel. Some people call it panel, whatever. But, we hope that, in future we'll have better mix here. But thank you, everyone. I think we lost quite a bit of audience because there are parallel 2 sessions going on right now. So we had to also request some participants to go to the other floor. So which is also very interesting panel. But I for one actually think this is the crux where lots of you probably have a question in your mind saying it is great that we actually have to focus on preventive side and we have to also focus on responding side. So while we strengthen lots of fire response system, but what is that prevention part that one can do? So we have lots of good experts and we have assembled, and I thank you all the experts, those who have actually much more mature system, and they have been practicing, some of these countries have been practicing fire management for many, many decades, while many other countries have started relatively sooner. So I think I have gotten my panelists, some of the top-notch experts from Korea. We have experts from Australia, France, Canada, and USA. So while we call them experts who have more matured system at display, so today I'm going to be challenging them that how do you make sure where the rubber hits the road? It's one thing to have good set of policies, it's one thing to have good sets of regulation, very strong institutions, very important budget, trained people. I want to ask them, I want them to share their experience of their journey on how have you learned from your own mistakes in last several decades that you practice? How have you moved your system to become stronger? Which essentially means that how much of your resources in the budget you focus on prevention and how much of your resources and your time you focus on mitigation. And how over a period of time, how this shift has taken place. And so that's first part. The second part of your presentation could also focus on, how do you navigate the complex institutional system? Every country has their regulations and institutions and bureaucracy. And sometime I think as Valerie or someone mentioned this morning, there are multiple institutions and sectors that are impacted. So responding to fire or preventing a fire is not just a responsibility of one department or one government. So how do you get the institutional coordination working? How do you get everybody's support? And how do you improve the efficiency of your response? And I think in one line I would say, how do you define your success? If I have to look at your system, how would you say that this is the parameter or indicator of success? With that, I think let me introduce my panelist here. Very impressive panelist. Dr. Kiyeon Ko. He actually is a forester. He's educated as a forester in the US. Please come in while I introduce you. Dr. Ko is a seasoned forest officer with over 30 years of experience in public forestry sector, has served in Korea Forest Service, and then he has distinguished career and played a pivotal role in advancing Korea's wildfire prevention response system. Dr. Ko organized the 6th International Wildland Fire Conference in Republic of Korea and helping elevate Korea's role in global dialogue on wildfire management. As of February 2025, he serves as the president of Korea Forest Fire Society, where he continues to lead efforts to strengthen wildfire response capacity and collaboration in the region. So, Dr. Ko, over to you. The floor is yours. Thank you. Is it working? Not working there?
Yeah. Okay, correct.
Yes, working.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Kiyeon, President of the Korea Forest Fire Society and the former Director General of the Fire Aviation Office in Korea. I am honored to be here at this important workshop to share South Korea's experience with the wildfire and the critical need to address the fuel load management as a priority in forest policies. In recent years, Korea has faced a dramatic surge increase in wildfire events. Largely driven by climate change, we experienced massive wildfire in 2022, 2023, and again in 2025 this year. However, in 2024, the damage was significantly reduced. Why? Two reasons: favorable spring weather condition and enhanced aerial readiness. We had 20 more rainfalls than average and less strong wind, which slowed fire spread. Additionally, we reached overseas seven large capacity helicopters to support early suppression efforts. But this year, with the improved readiness, South Korea faced its most devastating wildfire disaster in March this year. In just a few days, more than 100,000 hectares, 1.6 times the Seoul area, capital city, of forest burned across the southeastern region of the Korean Peninsula, resulting in over $700 million in economic damages, and more than 80 people killed or injured. The fire, ignited in the inland county of Uiseong and spread swiftly eastward, eventually reaching the coastal county of Yeongdeok. You can see in the screen the speed of the fire to the eastward, driven by the strong wind that peaked at 50 meters per second. The fire advanced rapidly across the mountain ridges and valleys, engulfing the multiple communities, rural communities. Villages such as Nogunni on the seaside, which lay directly along the wind-driven axis of fire, were devastated. Homes and vehicles, even the ship, incinerated within minutes upon the arrival of the fire. In contrast, other nearby villages just outside the main flame corridor were spared at this moment. The map graphic illustrated how the fire carved an extensive path through the wide and mountainous landscape. This event revealed how terrain, wind alignment, and forest fuel load combines to shape extreme fire situation. The cold Yeongnam wildfire ultimately swept across the southern eastern flank of the Korean peninsula, leaving behind the massive burn scar that was later confirmed by the NASA satellite images. One might assume that Korea's 1,400 millimeters annual rainfalls would reduce fire risk. Unfortunately, that is not the case. We often experience dry spells during the spring season, and our forests have accumulated vast fuel load over the decade. In 2021, the average growing stock per hectare reached around 170 cubic meters. This is the 30% increase from the 2011, and yet only about 19% of the annual biomass growth is harvested. That leaves over the 80 biomass to remain as fuel load. I would like to talk about the limitation of the suppression capacity. When the fire do break out, both aerial and ground response face limit in Korea. We have only 7 helicopters with the largest capacity in Korea, and during the March 2025 outbreak, 29 large fires occurred simultaneously, overwhelming our response capacity. Ground crews face tough terrain and limited access and fatigues. Delays due to the smoke and the flight restriction only make the fire situation worse. We must change our thinking responding to fire. In my inaugural speech as the president of the Korea Forest Fire Society, after retiring the forest service, I emphasized to nurture the woods and to quell the fires are not two, but one. Forest management and fire management should not be separable. We must actively thin forest area, especially in plantation, to reduce fuel accumulation and break the cycle of mega fires in Korea. Forest thinning is not just a timber strategy, it is wildfire prevention. We have clear data showing that managed forest significantly reduce the spread compared to unmanaged ones. Silvicultural practices like thinning, clear cutting, and stand conversion are tools we need to use more proactively in the future. I contrast the unmanaged forest with the actively managed ones. on the screen to demonstrate the clear reduction in fire intensity and spread. Well-managed forests provide greater resilience under extreme weather condition and reduce risk to nearby communities. This slide illustrates the typical structure of an unmanaged forest. Densely packed, highly flammable biomass with little space or intervention. This condition contributes significantly to fire intensity. Strategic thinning, species diversification, and access road planning are all essential to reverse this vulnerability. You can see the difference between the managed and the unmanaged forest area, responding to the fire risk. We have a challenge in managing the forest area. The perception among the public and the environmental group is a challenge to forest managers. Some environmental groups blame thinning for causing wildfires, and the logging load or forest load are criticized for damaging ecosystems. We must address these concerns through the transparent communication, strong data showing, and responsible practices. Forest management, if done right, if implemented in a right way, protect both nature and people. Our fire response system has long been reactive. It is time to shift toward prevention. Fuel reduction should be embedded in forest planning. In Korea, we don't yet conduct the prescribed burning or planned burning. We rely only on fire line and constructing the fire break. That must change. We need a more holistic and diverse method or approach in addressing the fire risk. Let me briefly outline 5 key policy and technical recommendations. Thinning and harvesting the high-risk plantation. We have best area of the plantation in Korea. We reforested our over 6.5 million hectares. Since 1970s, we successfully greened that divested the forest area into green, but we have the issue with the fire. As is often noted, if we are not going to manage trees responsibly, we should not plant trees at all. With this increasing fire risk. Second one is restricting the public access during the fire-prone season, which is spring season in Korea. Third one is integrated fuel data into National Forest Plan. Fourth one is strengthen collaboration with local and private sectors, including environmental group. Lastly, prepare for emerging fire risk with both short and long-term strategies. My presentation is closing to the end. prevention must be institutionalized in the policy formulation and policy the implementation on the ground. During my time at the Korea Forest Service for 30 years, I worked for the fire management 5 times, and in 2019, I worked and I initiated the official discussion with FAO on developing the integrated forest disaster risk management, or IFDRM framework. Korea now plays a leading role in supporting this international organization's effort. We need the integration of science, policy, and local engagement. Let me summarize the 2 or 3 points. Wildfire now risk is rising, and the fuel load reduction must lead our Korean forest strategies. And lastly, Korea is committed to both the national and the international effort to address the wildfire risk. I urge all of us here today to invest in prevention and to consider more the measure to implement the prevention. Share models that should work on the ground, not only at the policy level, but work on the ground. Link the fire policy with the forest and the climate policies. Closing, I look forward to engaging with you in discussion and building a strong collaboration across countries. Over my 30 years in forest management and wildfire response, I have learned that suppression is necessary, but not sufficient at this time. Without year-round forest management practice, emergency wildfire risk cannot be effectively mitigated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ko. I think it's a very, very interesting presentation and several messages that came out. I think I was just trying to summarize from your rich presentation what is the key message that I could draw. And I could say that, 3 simple messages is that your first part of the presentation did show the limitation of response. You can invest billions of dollars in strengthening your response system, but you eventually realize that, you need to also focus on the preventive side. So I think that's a very clear message. The other second message that came out is the whole integrated forestry management, that focusing on a combination of policies, regulations, as well as techniques on thinning. I think that was the importance of the whole preventive aspect of integrated forest management in terms of actively managing your forest. The third thing that you mentioned also that, it cannot be done by one agency. You require huge coordination, not only with the scientific or scientists, but also with community and other government agency. So I think you laid out very, very clearly. I will have many questions, I'm sure, as do the audience here. We'll come back to you later, but let me move on to the other important aspect, and let me go to Eric. Eric Flores has been a firefighter for more than 37 years. So here he is a gentleman who actually has the real hands-on experience. He started holding the fire hose and became an expert officer in crisis management. Having worked with the Ministry of Interior at the General Directorate, he has been and still is responsible for fire department for 14 years in south of France, which is particularly subject to the forest fire. He currently heads the fire department in Montpellier region, which is subject to more than 1,300 forest fires each year. More recently, he has been responsible for French and European counter-reinforcement detachment during the forest fires in Canada in 2023. Eric, the floor is yours, and you have a very, very interesting biodata.
Thank you. Thank you first for the translator, because my beautiful South French accent you have, it will be difficult for you. It's not Australia, I'm French. It's a... I can try, but maybe made a lot of mistakes.
So let's see that, you know, the
Yes,
presentation.
perfect.
Yes, it's right there.
First, I will introduce you. Everyone knows France. My department is on the arrow in the south of France. It's the city of Montpellier. The department is 6,000 square kilometers and 1.2 million persons. And it's in the Mediterranean area, and until 40 years we get many problems with not climate change, because it's already a very dry region and very warm. And we get many problems with wildfires until 40 years. That's why, and the second perspective that you can see on these pictures is France is divided by 100 departments, and this is the organization also of the fire department. The fire department belongs to the mayor in France, but to the prefect in the department area. Then it's a second rapid French organization. In France, there is 35,000 villages. It's very important to have an overview that our forest is a live area. It's not a desert. And that's why we try to manage very quickly to try to extinguish the fire, even if it is a small fire. Then we get also 6,000 firehouse in France, 100 fire department, and you know, go on the organization. What is also important, it's there is no differences between forest fire firefighters and the firefighters in the city. In my fire department, I manage the forest, and I also manage the city of Montpellier, Agde, and so on. Then it's very important when we know, even in our departments, one of the main problems is interface between the forest and the suburban area. And at the last, you can see also the European with the civil protection mechanism organization, because Europe buys some airplanes and lend them to the country and use them when they need it in a different country of the Union. First, to have a comprehensive overview of the French strategy, our problem stands 40 years ago. We get the constat that we get many fire much more than 30,000 square hectares, sorry. And in our area, in the south of France, it's also a touristic area. It's a lived forest, as I said, are lived area, and we can't do 10 kilometers without having a village. Second, we already think that when there is a mega fire, it's too late. Then we think about a strategy, and you see the trend of the hectares burnt in France until the 40 years. And our national organization arrived in the beginning of the 90s. In blue, there is a Mediterranean problems of the hectares of burnt area, and the rest of France is in orange. You see, 2022, the main fires was in the southern part of the south of France, and that's our big issue now in France, to try to extend the organization of the forests of the south of France to the rest. Then the constat was that We must have an interministerial organization. We must fight rapidly the fire, even the small fire. And the first, it's the global approach to have really the overview, to record every fires, because we know that every fire gets the same word when there is the same wind. And that's why we try to analyze and anticipate our organization. And the result is there. Now we get quite 80% of the fire extinguished in less than 5 hectares. Less than 1% of fire account much more than 50% of the burn area. And for us, it's very important to speak with media and even with the other firefighters, not in about hectares burnt, but number of fires. Because hectares burnt are the defeat of the firefighters, the defeat of our politics. Then, what's the problem is all the media and the political only speaks about our defeat. And all the prevention is made to not speak about our fires. I explained to you. Last year, there were only one fire in my area. We was around, not so much, but 400 hectares. At the end of the summer, all the journalists and even the politics said, oh, it was a calm period. No, we extinguished in this area 90% of the fire before 5 hectares. Then no one speaks about the small fires. And even with prevention, it's a big issue, because with politics, he said, okay, there is no more fires, you don't need to have budget. And that's the problem of the prevention. What is the price of the prevention and what is the counterpart with our action? Then the strategy of France that we try to organize, it's first, it's a rapid identification of forest fires outbreaks. Video supervision of the forest. Quite all the Mediterranean area forests are under camera. With artificial intelligence, we can immediately see the smoke and to be able to have an immediate intervention of the firefighters. We have an aerial monitoring. Sometimes we have, I will show you some road with airplanes, and the airplanes, depending of the forest fire, the forest weather forecast that we made every day, we get some airplanes. We are only over there on the road with a risky area, just to look at some smoke and able to have a bombing immediately. Due to also this forest weather forecast, we locate some fire engine and firefighters in the forest. In the highest rank of a risky day in my area, it's much more than 500 firefighters which are located in the strategic point in the forest with their vehicles. We have to also to organize the fight, and to organize the fight, we have to organize the forest, to have some road in the forest, to have some water tanks already in the forest, and all the South Mediterranean forest is organized. It's very easy to have a beautiful work when it is okay, but all this road is made for firefighters to be rapidly on the and to fight rapidly the fire. Third, what is very, very important is the management of the interface between forest and urban area. I will show you another pictures after. It's clear to clear the bush around the houses, to have the same as you said, to have the thinning of the forest, because as you know, forest fires, it's a mix between small trees and higher trees, and there is an auto-alimentation of the fire between the small and the higher trees. What is also a very particular politic in France, it's prioritization to incipient fires. The small fires, we can manage it. When it's mega fires, it's too late. Of course, we are going to fight it. But if we have to make some choice between airplanes with small or large fires, we do it immediately to the small one because it's easier to extinguish it, and we're going to fight and manage the great one, the large one. Obligation to clear brush dwelling inside and on the edge of the forest. As I said, same organization in the city, in the forest, and the same fire department. And what is also important, identification of the origin and the cause of every fires. It's very important to know the cause of the fires, because if you know the cause, if you stop the cause, there is no fire. And in France, 90% of the fires are made by people. Not only arson, but people who are working on the forest are creating the fires. Agriculture, then we are speaking also with agriculture ministry, and sometimes when in a risky time, we ask the agriculture to work not at 4 p.m., but 4 a.m. And for the wine, it's better to cut the grape at 4 a.m. also. But it's very important because, as you said, in Korea, we decide also to limit some area to the people. First, because the people create the fire, and second, to be sure that we will not have a wooden person. As I said to you, I will show you a fire last year. The black line, it's the outline of the fires. The large part, it's made by a software. When there is a beginning of the fire, we get in anticipation some software, and we know exactly with the wind where the fire is going on. You see with the black line into the action of the firefighters. We try, I will not say that someone don't know, it's to try to keep the fire in the cone, and when it's okay, we can fire and stop it in the front. Then you can see those parts. Those parts, it's the action of the firefighters. And when you identify what we save in this part, we can assess the action and the value of the action of the firefighters. And in this fire, we estimate that it was 65 million euro saved by the action of the firefighters. And we try to do it with every fire. Because when I said first that we don't know what was the price of prevention, we can go with our manager, politician, insurance, everyone, to say that the action of the fire department saved 65 million euros. What is important also to see is that the differences that we get with some other country, then the fire arrived, you see, in the city of Frontignan, and the houses in France are made in concrete. And with the clear brush and the concrete-made houses, we can have a specific action of firefighter to stop the fires. It's not the same if our house were in a wooden made. You can see here the command post on the left top. It's weather, forest weather forecast, and you see the different level between red, orange, yellow, and after blue and green part of the south of France region. In the top of right, the place where we locate the fire engine and the firefighters during that moment. In the right down, the video of the supervision of the forest in my area. It's also touristic areas, and I have also camera on the sea to have a concrete action with. To survey the sea. And the last, it was a small fire that we were dealing at the same moment in the area. The legal obligation of clear brush in France is not due to insurance. It's a legal framework to belongs to the mayor to be sure that every house which is close to the forest have been clear. It's a legal obligation, and if you don't do that, there is a fee. And even the mayor can clear instead of you and can send you the bill if you don't do it. It's 50 meters on the on the legislation now, but now with climate change, we try to extend it to 100 meters. And it's very comfortable because concrete-made houses with 50 or 100 meters clear brush, you can defend it. And we can send some firefighters with one trucks and this house, and we can save also the person. What is also special, if you are owner only with 20 meters from your house, you have to clear even if you are not on your own property. You have to clear to another person this part, and this is an obligation. And the mayor used drones to be sure that all the person clear. Usually, a person where there were not fires always are a little bit early when they have to clear, but until there is already one fire, and they immediately see the reaction of this clear area, and no one in a very risky area now contest this organization. As I said, we get also some aerial forest fire monitoring, and this is during the risky season. You see all the road of the airplanes, and they are in the top and in the air, just waiting to see a smoke, because we are on the highest level of this forest fire weather forecast. And in France, mainly all the aerial means belong to the state, and it's free for my department to use the aerial means. You see. Second, there is also a big discussion now in France with a different type of airplanes, because with the problem of climate change or the fires going not so close from the sea, And we need also to develop, to have some planes, small planes, into France with a small airport. And we use also retardant, which is very useful to fight fire. Then, with the global warming in France, we get a big issue that, as I said to you, this organization is in the far south of France. With the different fires of 2022, we see that we get fires in the north, and we have to extend the organization who works to the rest of France. And it's a big issue also because in my fire department, I get 200 fire trucks. In the north, the same department only get 10 fire trucks. Then it's a big issue and all the forests are not organized with road, with water tanks, with all this legislation. And it's a very big problem. Second problem is the problem of water. We use water tanks in the forest. Our main problem is when there is a big fire, is we are emptiest all the reserve of the city of water. Then we develop different tanks with the mayor to be able to move in the specific area and to develop more and more the water tanks in the forest because it's a very, very big issue for us with the drought, and the drier permanent problems you get in some cities that even don't have water drinks in the south of France. As I said, there is another problem is to manage agricultural wasteland. There is a problem sometimes in south of France. There is a vineyard. Usually, the vineyard was a stop area for the fires, but when this now with the environmental organization, they let the grass goes into the vineyard, and the vineyard is don't stop anymore the fires, and we have to adapt also our organization to this problem. And second, the income of the wine is very important, and the person we stop sometimes other agriculture to develop fine, and we get some bush area. We create great problems. Merci.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. I think another very rich yet very practical presentation. Lots of very useful information, and you described the problem that are very unique to France. A couple of messages that you said, the whole role of knowledge and using the forecasting and monitoring to really take to actually decide on what could be the origin of those fire. I think that's very unique that you focus on identifying what could be the origins of different fire. You also talk about the whole preventive actions on the ground that you take, that what different actions that you take on the ground using different technologies, techniques, and using your firefighting abilities and experience. I think you have taken lots of experience. But the very unique thing is also the whole city and the forest department sort of overlap, where you said there is the same fire department that addresses the fire in the city as well as in the forest department. So that's a very unique institutional model. And how do you make it work? I think I'm sure lots of people would be interested in learning from that. But I think since we are running out of time, if I may request our next speaker, Murray Carter. He's the Executive Director of Rural Fire Division, Department of Fire and Emergency Service in Western Australia. It's a very unique experience. Mr. Carter has held this position for 7 years. He's leading the Western Australia through significant rural fire reforms announced by the Western Australian government. And Mr. Carter has overseen the creation and establishment of world-leading Western Australian Bushfire Centre of Excellence. So Center is focused on enhancing the bushfire management knowledge and capabilities and incorporate a highly regarded cultural fire program. He is a graduate from Australian Institute of Company Director. He's currently the chair of Australasian Fire and Emergency Service, Rural and Management Department, a member of Australian Forest Fire Department Group, and chair of ministerial appointed Western Australian State Bushfire Advisory. He has got lots of interesting experience to share. And you know, we were talking earlier, and I think I requested him to focus on how they work with the communities and the rural communities and the indigenous community, and you know, he has a lot of practical experience. So, Mr. Carter, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sanjay, and good afternoon, everyone. Here we go. It was nice and timely. I was waiting for that to come up. Good afternoon, and can I just start by thanking the World Bank and the Turkish Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry for enabling me to be here. You'll see as I work through, there's a lot of pictures in this presentation, and I've put a lot of QR codes, so rather than dig into the detail too much, the presentation will be available for people to drill down as much as they like. I'll just draw attention to adaptive, because I'm going to talk a bit about what we've done over a long period of time in a mature fire management framework, but how we still need to change how we go about it in Western Australia. Western Australia, it's a big place, so in terms of, well, I don't know about others, but we always hear how big Texas is, and it's bigger, but I'm not going to get into that sort of thing today. But about a third of the Australian land mass is Western Australia, so the green section on the left covers about 253 million hectares of all heavily fire-prone environment. There's been fire there for a long time, well before European inhabitation. The First Nations people, the Indigenous Aboriginal population, were using fire at least 60,000 years ago. So, and natural fire clearly predated that. So we've got a really fire-adapted environment in terms of both plants and animals and broader biodiversity. We get a lot of bushfires. So I just use the last few years rather than long-term averages, which have become a bit meaningless. But we generally sit around 6,000 bushfires in Western Australia every year. It goes up and down a bit, and the cause changes from year to year. And we have a very highly variable climate. The map on the right shows vegetation types. So, and notably, they're the ones as described by what we now have as an Australian fire danger rating system. And we have 8 different types right across Australia. So, yeah, that's been simplified up to make it a national system. And of those 8, we have 7 in Western Australia. The only one we don't have is button grass, but we've got all the rest. So if you look down the far left corner, the southwest corner of Western Australia, that's heavy forest. So the green is tall forest, Carry Jarrah forest, 80 to 90 metre high trees would be the best. Some of the tingle forests, but you know, average 50 or 60 metres tall. And then the other types we would, I think in Europe and other parts of the world, maybe here as well, is they would still refer to it as forest, but we break it down into different categories such as woodlands and tropical savannas. Right up in the top in the Kimberley. It's about 4,000 kilometres from the southwest corner to the northeast corner. Climate-wise is massively variable, as you'd imagine, over that shift south to north. In the green, the southwest corner where the heavy tall forests are, an eminent bushfire behaviour researcher once referred to the southwest of WA about 30 years ago as more Mediterranean than the Mediterranean itself in climate, which is proven to be exactly right in terms of impact of climate change. And up in the top we have tropical savannas, which through tropical around closer to the equator. I'll move on. So one of the talks earlier, just before lunch, talked about the importance of policy and legislative framework. I won't dwell on this. Again, just reiterating the QR codes are there when my presentation's shared, you can access the details. These are really important documents, fairly recent, but they're not agency specific, so they don't apply to the fire service, which I'm part of, or the park service, or the forestry divisions, or individuals. They apply to everyone in Western Australia. So all you'll see is a state government logo. They've been in place for not a long period of time. A recent document where we've wanted to try to consolidate how we manage bushfire in an end-to-end sense, and I'll talk about that more. One of the interesting things in legislation, I reflected on some earlier comments, we've got a Bushfires Act that is 1954, so we're reviewing it now, but it's a really old piece of legislation, but it's really served us well. When one of the key aspects of the Bushfires Act is the notion of an occupier of land. And what that says, that it doesn't matter whether you own the land, you lease the land, it's native title land, it's any type of tenure Crown land, this applies to you. So the responsibilities about managing bushfire risk and responding to fire apply to an occupier. And it was a really clever piece of work well before I was born in 1954. So that's been terrific. And the other notion is this one of a shared responsibility, and I'll talk about it a bit. We've heard a bit about that as well, and where it's not just the government, it's everyone's responsibility to manage bushfire. This is interesting. So I was fortunate enough to be in Rome last week at the Global Fire Hub, and then again this morning hearing a lot about integrated fire management, which is clearly the way that we need to go. It's been said many a times, and I would absolutely agree with that. What we've had in place for 30 or 40 years is this PPRR framework, but it's essentially the same thing. And you talk about integrated fire management and the 5 Rs, it's all of those plus research being called out, I guess, is the extra R. But really the same thing that we've been doing for decades. So I haven't thought it through yet, but we might change the language and shift over to that, I think. But it's largely the same thing. And of course, our aim, and it has been the case I think referred to as a mature system, that we've been doing it for a lot, 30, 40, 50 years and even longer, is to keep shifting from the R and the R up to the P and P, which is doing more in terms of mitigation than response and recovery. I'm just going to run through the P's a bit just quickly. So the prevention is around, we've heard a bit about mitigation work, so we talk about planned burning or prescribed burning, mechanical work such as mulching, we use chemicals for spraying, and all of those things are important. So at a broader landscape scale, we do a lot of mitigation work in Western Australia. And the other part's the community, and that was mentioned as well, is how you bring the community along with you. An important aspect of that is just a couple of documents, again, accessible. We deal really closely with the community, and even while we operate at scale in what we're talking about on the left, the smallest locations all become important, and this is particularly in all parts of the world. I was in Portugal a couple of weeks ago. Really relevant there is that the smallest blocks in terms of, we've even put out a Firewise gardening guide, which is one of those, which is really about in the rural-urban interface what people plant in their gardens. So we're not talking about forest management or just at the smallest piece. The cumulative effect of all of those being managed well is significant. And the Burn Smart is, again, not for professional fire managers, that's for small landholders, farmers, other people who are hobby farmers, if that makes sense, around how they might go and start managing risk and burning fuel on their property. So all equally important. Preparedness, again, codes are there for you. We have an Australian warning system that's the same for fire, flood, cyclone. Recently combined all those. We've got some pretty neat emergency WA apps and alerts that we get information out to the community as far as warnings go, and training I'll cover in a bit more detail. Response, I won't go into this in too much other than to say there's a few pictures there. Of course, and there's been lots of those. I don't think it's any different really to what happens most other places. The mix might vary, but the way we go about things is generally the same. I think the response part of the business, from my way of thinking, is not the difficult part of the business. I mean, obviously there's outcomes that are important, but you do what you can, but it's really what happens before the fire. And again, I reiterate what we've heard from a lot of other speakers today, that's the important piece. We use also heavy machinery we've seen pictures of here in Turkey as well, with dozers. I don't think there's a dozer there, front-end loaders. People really important. We use volunteers in Western Australia. We have about 20,000 bushfire volunteers and about another 2,000 paid bushfire practitioners across a number of agencies that they're employed by. And aviation has become more and more important everywhere. And the only thing I'd say about that is, there's different schools of thought right across Australia around rotary wing versus fixed wing, large versus small. And I think what we found in WA, given the diversity of our landscape, is a mix of all of those has proven to be really, really effective in different mixes. Recovery, inevitably, if things don't go well for you, and that can happen, it's the reality is that you can get bad results. And then we've really invested quite heavily in the last few years about doing better in this space. We actually employ now a lot of emergency management recovery professionals within the organisation. For the foresters in the room, you can see that's a jarrah forest on the left that's had a nasty, highly intense fire go through it, which is not what you want to see. You can see the epicormic growth there, so it won't kill the jarrah forest. It's really fire resistant, but it won't do it any good, so you don't want that. The point I make about the recovery is the community assistance part and the specialists we've got to work alongside our bushfire people are the same people who do we've had a lot of cyclones, storms, floods, I can't see those, but across the mix. So they're really strong on the community engagement, regionally based, a lot of these, and they can, whether it's a bushfire, instead of having to deal with a significant event of a certain hazard type once every 5, 6, 7 years or so, they're dealing, unfortunately, more frequently with a different range of incidents in the recovery space. Australia, while it's a big place, I'm talking about West Australia as a third of it, and we're generally, by comparative terms, what most people in the room would be used to, we're a long way away. So in terms of, particularly in Western Australia, I think Perth's regarded as the most remote capital city on the planet. So in terms of the measure being the nearest next capital city, I think it's further away than anywhere. So it's really important in a national context, and we bring in our New Zealand friends in this as well, is we operate emergency management at a national level. So we've got what's AFAC, is the Australasian Fire and Emergency Services Authorities Council, a bit of a mouthful, and it's a really important body that's a member-based organisation that it drives collaboration for all of the Australian states, territories and the nation of New Zealand as well. So really important collaboration. 34 members, 21 affiliates, all hazards, so I won't go through that's up there, but that's a really important piece for us. You will hear a lot in Europe, heard last year about regional structures and those sort of things. That's what does it for us. It's a really mature model and has been around for a while, so I just thought it was worth sharing that. Okay, now the bit I really wanted to talk to is sort of the good news of what's happened for us more recently. Starts with bad news in a major bushfire in 2016. Significant property losses in the southwest of Western Australia, down in that green zone on the earlier map. A loss of life, several lives lost as well, so not what you want to happen. Major independent inquiry, it's there if you want it. Rural fire reforms. Government announces a rural fire division, change the Fire and Emergency Services Agency. Brings me into that role in 2018. I did a bit of the work for the government on what a model might look like. Not for a second did I think that I was going to be the one that ended up taking on the job. So if I'd known that before I started, I might have done it a bit differently. I don't know, but it's a good model. So we've integrated rural fire specialists into the Fire and Emergency Services Agency, so to give us the benefit of leverage of resources and a whole range of other things. Notably, over that short time frame, and what are we now, 4 years ago, a vehicle for inflicting change on the sector we created was called the Bushfire Centre of Excellence, and I just want to use the last bit of my presentation just focusing on that. That's what it looks like. Kala Katajan, which means fire learning loosely in traditional Indigenous language of the Binjara people, which are the local traditional owners for that part of the southwest. There's a lot of different owners right through the southwest, is a big area by way of native title. Located just sort of would be 100 kilometres south of Perth, the main city, towards the southwest, and a good location. And in terms of functions, the buildings is one thing, but the functions are the most important. So through a heavy collaborative process through the sector, we lined up what we want to do in terms of this new piece and the build. Knowledge management is most important, and I'm going to expand on that in the next slide. Training, of course, development, delivery, administration and outreach, which is all very self-explanatory. In the knowledge management space, this is the bit, I guess, that I got most excited about. When we talked through what our problems were on the back of a review and a number of other previous reviews, we landed in this space, which had sort of dawned, and I've been in the business a long time, since I left school, so 40-odd years in the bushfire business. I'd never really packaged it up like I'm about to now in terms of where we get our knowledge in fire management. Certainly in our context, there's only 3 places you can get knowledge. One's traditional fire knowledge from cultural fire practices from our Indigenous population. They've been around it for 60,000 years. There's lessons management, experiential knowledge, of course, contemporary knowledge, and science and research. So we structured up, as you saw on the previous slide, our knowledge around trying to integrate those three sources of knowledge. And my way of thinking, it's a big statement, a big ask. If we can actually really get those to integrate and coexist, we've got there. And we're not there yet, we're early in the journey, but I think that's a pretty neat way of going about it. A couple of examples of bits there, you can see some sort of cultural fire, some burning with some Indigenous people. And then the top one's really important is we released around bushfire research priorities. So we came out of an era in this science and research piece where instead of the universities and tertiary institutions sort of coming to us saying, look, we're going to run a project, do you want to be involved in it? We swung that around in Western Australia, said these are all the things we actually need done. So we've done it in a prospectus sort of approach to say, focus on these and we'll be in. We'll be happy to resource. And of course, you'd imagine most people from academic institutions, they jump at that pretty quickly. And sector driven, of course. Just getting close towards the end now, just the way we did it, in terms of the Bushfire Centre of Excellence, what we didn't do was build a training academy or a facility where we bring people in. Much more important in a West Australian context that we go out to where the people are. So we run this hub and spoke model, indicative like that. We're based down where the orange dot is, and we have connections in regional offices across all agencies right across Western Australia to deliver the training. People will come into the facility for higher end specialist training that's lower volume in terms of numbers, not your basic fire training sort of stuff, but more like your high end fire behaviour analysts, those sort of things. So incident controllers, that sort of training we would do on site. Final slide, second last slide, Bushfire Centre of Excellence I mentioned before. There's the QR code for everyone. Worth having a look at that. I've just really skimmed over it very quickly. And with that, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Murray. I think, that was excellent presentation. I think we are running short of time, but you made some very, very important points, particularly, the approach that Australia follows and the PPRR approach is so similar to the new modern concept of 5R approach. I think it's astounding to see that, even some of the more mature and developed systems were actually pretty smart at that time and focusing on prevention many, many decades ago. So I think this modern day is only learned and built upon what you guys have been practicing. Your recovery and heavy investment into working with bushfire people, I think is a very unique example. How you work with those people, how do you strengthen that system, how do you work with community? I think many, many people would want to learn and what kind of contracts, what kind of MOU you had with those people in community, and how did you develop that system of trust with the community? I think that would be very important. But on the institutional side, again, your Bushfire Center of Excellence is exactly what many people, including, I think, Turkey and our friends are there. They probably also are working to develop a center of excellence where you can share knowledge, where you can disseminate knowledge. So there's so much to learn and collaborate. Thank you so much. I think in the interest of time, I would have to move to our experts online. And I don't know if Chief Donna Black is connected or not, and Maggie, Julian from Canada. So two speakers. And if you are connected, I think please show up. I don't see them on the screen yet, but let me introduce Chief Donna Black. Joined the Federal Emergency Management Agency as Deputy Administrator for the U.S. Fire Administration. She has been active in the fire service for over 27 years. She served as the president of the International Association of Fire Chiefs, during which she participated in the inaugural U.S. Fire Administration Summit. Chief Black has also delivered testimony on the impact of wildfire at 22nd and 2023 U.S. Fire Administrators Summit Roundtable. She's very, very experienced, and I would want Donna Black to please be short in your presentation if possible, to keep it to 10 minutes if possible, so that we have some time for Q&A. And we can see you, and I don't know if you have a presentation, but floor is yours, please, Donna.
I do, thank you. I do have a presentation. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning here in the United States. And tell you what, I think I need to share my screen as I don't see it coming up on your end. So just please bear with me 1 second. And
Yeah,
I will
so she
be
has
back.
to do it, right? Go ahead, Donna, you can do it, please.
Okay, great. Give me 1 second to there. Can you see?
It's coming.
Hold on 1 second. Can you see my slides?
Not yet.
Not, okay, hold on, let me share. There we go. Can you see them now?
There's a lag here. Oh yeah, it's coming. Yes, it's coming.
It's coming.
Yes,
All right,
I can
perfect.
see it now.
All right, very good. Well, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about the U.S. Fire Administration and our collaborative effort here in the United States to address wildfire. An important statistic for me to share with you is 1/3 of our population lives in the wildland-urban interface, where the built environment meets the wildland. No longer is the wildfire season here a season. It is year-round, and we've heard that from our colleagues. And for the United States, no longer is it a Western states issue, it is a full United States issue. We've had fires in South Carolina, New Jersey, in Boston. It is a United States issue at this point. Let me fast forward here. There you go. Did I fast forward? There we go. Who do we serve? So the Federal Emergency Management Agency, very similar to my colleague talking in Australia, the FEMA's mission is to help people before, during, and after disasters by helping to build resilient communities and supporting local disaster management efforts when needed. Within FEMA sits the United States Fire Administration. We are here to support and strengthen the fire service through data, training, technology, policy, and stakeholder engagement. We represent the 1.2 million fire and EMS professionals in this country, both career and volunteer. That's 27,000 local fire and EMS departments, 50 state fire marshal offices, state, local, tribal, territorial agencies, our citizens, the general public, our fire service organizations outside the government, including our global colleagues, and our collaborative relationships within the federal interagency. There are approximately 1.2 million firefighters, like I said, in the United States. Those are structurally based firefighters. They may have wildfire or wildland experience, but we only have about 11,000 federal firefighters in this country doing the work in the wildland. Trying to get my slides to forward. I'm sorry, I'm not sure it is forwarding. I'm going to keep talking if that is okay in the interest of time.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Great. So in the United States, we have a national cohesive wildland fire management strategy. It is owned by the U.S. Forest Service, and it is a national collaborative effort between multiple federal agencies, including the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the U.S. Fire Administration. Their state, local, tribal, and territorial governments and non-governmental partners and public stakeholders. It is a whole community approach to resilience, which is also the backbone of our national preparedness response and recovery frameworks. FEMA and the Fire Administration play an important role in this implementation of the strategy, as reducing risk to firefighters and the public is the first priority in every fire management activity in the United States. The national strategy has 3 main goals. First, to restore and maintain landscapes. We've heard a lot about that in the presentations today. Landscapes across all jurisdictions are resilient to fire-related disturbances in accordance with management objectives. The second goal is developing more fire-adapted communities. Human populations and infrastructure can withstand wildfires, and reduce the life and property losses if we can do good code management, good defensive space, and also good human activities and responsibilities. The third goal is to improve the wildfire response. All jurisdictions participate in making and implementing safe, effective, efficient, risk-based wildfire management decisions. There's no magic formula that will work for every community, especially in a country like the United States, with different landscapes and large populations. Therefore, the true success lies within the communities in how they adopt and take action to face their unique challenges. The strategy merely provides a guideline and basic direction when planning these community activities. With only 11,000 federal firefighters, we also have state forest firefighters. And then with our 1.2 million structural firefighters, it's still not enough. In fact, you've seen that. You've seen that recently here in the States. The level of wildfire incidents have increased, and so has their severity. Case in point, the LA firefighters from last January, the Lahaina fires from 2023 August in Hawaii. It is really important that we invest in resiliency, not just response. And this isn't just a national level issue for us, it's a global issue, and thank you for providing this opportunity today to discuss it. While the Fire Administration works with our colleagues around the national strategy, we also collaborate with public and private partners to find solutions, mainly in the community wildfire risk reduction space and also in training at our National Fire Academy. We've worked with a company called Esri. It's a privately owned geographic information system software company providing intelligence and mapping. They've developed a national wildfire activity dashboard for us, a wildland-urban interface property and community awareness app. These apps are wonderful in that they provide a homeowner, they can go in and put in their address and look at what is their risk. These apps are free to the public and aim to raise awareness of individual wildfire risk and drive individuals into action to mitigate their risks and their surroundings. We've also collaborated with the Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology Directorate on sensors to install wildfire detection technologies in fire-prone areas across the country. We've done this in California, we've done it in Hawaii, we've done it in Colorado, and we've done it in Tennessee. The Fire Administration is also working with FEMA's National Exercise Division, Esri, and the Moore Foundation to inform and support the federal government's efforts to develop national guidelines for safe and effective wildfire evacuation. We've held 3 exercises around the country. We hope to do 6 more coming this fall. They've been very successful. This issue really became urgent after the Paradise Fire in California in 2018. Most people that lost their lives in Lahaina died when they were trying to escape. So in 2024, the Fire Administration organized 2 national roundtables to discuss specifically wildfire evacuation. We had people from around the table from all stakeholder communities. The result was that we identified a need to produce a national guideline to direct communities in their community evacuation plannings. So we've done these 3 tabletop exercises, and hopefully towards the end of the year, we will have published, as a matter of fact, I just read the draft on our evacuation guidelines. Really important for us is the U.S. Fire Administration has implemented our new data system. It's called the National Emergency Response Information System, called NERIS. This is the system in which all fire departments record all their incidents. It's an all-hazard system, but they will record all their data into this national system, and then we will be able to integrate with other things like weather, early detection, what was the area, what type of topography, be able to put all that information together to get some data-driven assessments about response to all hazards, but specifically wildfire. We hope to create, by the end of this year into 26, the National Fire Risk Index that will look at risk, not just wildfire risk, but structure-to-structure risk with fire. That's part of our NERIS project, and that's something ongoing. So in closing, while we cannot control the environment to totally eradicate wildfire, we've heard that from our colleagues, we can take proactive actions to reduce the loss of life and property. It requires a whole community approach. And it looks something like this: awareness, data-informed risk assessment, mitigation efforts in managing the wildland, homeowner community responsibility to fire-adapted measures, early detection and warning, clear evacuation guidance, effective firefighter response, and learning from our incidents through after-action reports and sharing outcomes to include recovery. And I appreciate your time, and I apologize for the slides. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Donna. This is very, very interesting. I think many of us look up to learning from, your experience, not only that, there's been serious incidents, there's been serious loss of life and property, but I think with that experience, I think you've come out with an approach where many of us would like to learn more. Many participants here would like to know. I think the three key areas where, we would really want to engage with you further later. One is your whole idea of the whole community approach, and how do you provide this access to free information to the household and the community. I think that's a very interesting idea, and I think how do you involve community. Second is the whole your data-driven approach, where you've relied on private sector to work with the department to create not only the modeling, but also using the data that is actually informing your approach. And the third would clearly be in terms of the evacuation planning guideline. Given the recent experience, I think the new guideline that you all are developing would be very, very useful to see that, something that you cannot predict, something that you cannot control. And yet, I think these fire incidents sometimes become bigger and unmanageable. Then evacuation probably is a good way to reduce the loss of life. So I think those guidelines would be very, very useful. So thank you much for sharing your experience. And apologies for a little bit short time here, but I think we will definitely follow up and engage more. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So I will quickly move to our other virtual expert, Maggie, Julian. Maggie, I'm good to see you online. She is a policy manager with Natural Resources Canadian Forest Service. Is located in Ottawa, in Canada, and she is an expert. I'm not going to get into her very interesting bio, but Maggie, please share your experience, and if you can keep it to 10 minutes, that'd be very good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And I'm hoping you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, amazing. Okay, thank you very much. My name is Maggie Julian, and I'm with the Canadian Forest Service, joining you from Ottawa, Canada. So I will just jump right in the interest of time. So starting with just a little overview of Canada's forests, I will certainly say that Donna's intro very much resonated in terms of the Canadian reality as well. So Canada has about.
Can you put it in the we can only see the next slide and it's half the screen.
Okay.
Yeah. You can speak up.
Sorry. Try resharing. Oh, here we go. How's that?
Oh yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so 9% of the world's forests, about a third of Canadians live in or near the forest. The boreal forest is about 75% of the forest area, and I'm sure this message has been shared, but wildland fire is, of course, a natural part of ecosystem health and natural disturbance in boreal forests. I'll just move to the next slide in terms of a quick overview of national roles and responsibilities. So I'm with the federal government. We have emergency management, wildland fire science, technology, and expertise. public safety and education, but really we have 13 provinces and territories. They are responsible for fire suppression, fire management, risk mitigation. So it's very much a collaborative approach with wildfire management agencies in Canada and two coordinating bodies on the right-hand side of the slide. So the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre is a really critical organization for coordinating among provinces and territories and has to need international resource support. And to note, we currently have firefighters in Canada supporting. We have a very active fire season. We have support from the United States and Australia, so of course very grateful for that support. It's also the home of FireSmart Canada, so that's a program that's been around for more than 30 years, really focusing on the practical information to help fire smart communities and homes. And then we have another coordination mechanism through the Canadian Council of Forest Ministers, who are actually meeting right now in Newfoundland, so focusing on forestry issues, but wildland fires is a key issue there. So I think a lot of these will hopefully resonate with others listening. So of course, wildland fires are increasing in size and intensity. Obviously, climate change is a big factor there. Canada's wildland-urban interface is growing as our population grows. So there's communities that are in the forest or expanding into forested areas, and as a result, there are greater impacts on people in terms of evacuations, physical and mental health, infrastructure damage, economic disruption. And the reality for Canada is that our response demands are often beyond our national capacity. So we first look within the country for opportunities to share resources, but often we are looking to our international partners for support during an active fire season. Our Indigenous, rural, and remote communities are at increased risk. 80% of the Indigenous communities in Canada are within forest areas, so there is a disproportionate impact on Indigenous communities. So we did have a very significant record-breaking fire season in 2023. So that included very significant, it was the most costly fire season that Canada had ever experienced. The displacement of communities was very significant. 230,000 people were evacuated over that season. There were really fires from coast to coast to coast areas and regions that really hadn't necessarily experienced significant evacuations before. There was also a very big impact on air quality, including in the very populated parts of Canada, and of course a factor for greenhouse gas emissions. That was significant as well. I will note that our current fire season is also, in terms of area burned, we're right now at 3.9 hectares of area burned, which is second only for this time of year to the record-breaking 2023 season. Although the fires, in comparison to 2023, are much more in Western Canada this year versus 2023, where it really was seen across the country. So of course, this will be familiar by now, really recognizing that we must transform the way that we approach wildland fire management towards resilience. And that very much must be, and we've heard this concept before, it's rooted in the Sanjay framework, that absolute necessity for whole of society collaboration. And this can't be conversation and action just with wildland fire management agencies, but very much a whole of society approach, Indigenous peoples, the forest sector, nonprofit groups at the table, contributing and implementing prevention and mitigation approaches. So I won't jump in because I think you've probably heard a lot of this, but this is again just some of the, of course, wildfire suppression critical, and Canada has made significant investments in equipment and training for wildfire response, but also looking at opportunities for increased forest resilience. So the next couple of slides are focused on the Canadian Wildland Fire Prevention and Mitigation Strategy. So that Canadian Council of Forest Ministers worked over a several-year period, so having all the jurisdictions as well as extensive engagement with civil society partners to develop a prevention and mitigation strategy that really provides a pan-Canadian vision of prevention and mitigation with shared goals, commitments, and targets. And as I said, it's the whole of society approach, and we're really seeing it as a living document that will evolve as progress is made and as we continue to move forward. So just a snapshot of that, the strategy, goals, and commitments. So there's a goal focused on whole of society collaboration and coordination. So our wildfire risk assessment work is fitting in here, as well as a whole of society advisory group. Canada has 3 Indigenous peoples recognized in our Constitution. So the importance of working with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities to remove barriers and really promote Indigenous participation at all levels of fire management. As I said, Indigenous communities are disproportionately impacted by fire and also have thousands and thousands of years of experience using fire on land that we can bring those practices and forward and learn from them. We need to increase our knowledge and understanding. In Canada, 50% of our fires are human caused. So that public awareness campaign and learning to try and reduce human-caused fires is really critical, as well as training opportunities. And then just the need to really expand our investment in prevention and mitigation. So we've set a goal for that sort of collective investment in incentives and support programs. So that's our strategy in a snapshot. It was released in June, about a year ago, June 2024. We're working hard at advancing that work together. Okay, just heading to the final slide. So sort of key messages, key actions going forward, of course, that are really advancing work with our prevention and mitigation strategy implementation in a as collaborative way as possible. We've really emphasized the Indigenous leadership, the importance of Indigenous leadership in wildland fire management, and have a number of initiatives underway, including a lab, it's called the Red Fire Lab, that's focused on working with Indigenous-led research in wildland fire. Knowledge exchange is really important. We have a Center of Excellence as well that is launching this spring, a Center of Excellence for Wildland Fire Innovation and Resilience. This virtual organization, arm's length from government, but really focused on that knowledge sharing, knowledge mobilization, Indigenous fire stewardship, all the amazing research that's out there. How do we get that into the hands of users and also influence the research that's being done? Improving predictive services is, of course, very critical. And then I'll just end very appreciative of this opportunity to speak with you and learn from you today. So the importance of international, bilateral, and multilateral cooperation. There was mention the Global Fire Management Hub is meeting last week. The G7 is meeting in Canada as we speak, and there will be discussions that focus on wildland fire, and the International Model Network, Forest Network is another important international network that Canada is quite involved in and promoting international collaboration. So I'll end there, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. I think, an excellent, and we all know that Canada is probably one unique country which has the most experience of managing forest fire because you have huge forest. Some of those are inaccessible. So I guess planning to prevent and mitigate the losses in those areas is something that you have unique experience. But I think a couple of points that you made are very important for this gathering, which only reinforces what we've been hearing from other experts, such as, the whole of society approach and your strategy being informed that everyone has a role and responsibility. So I think that's very unique, the whole institutional model. Also, I think the distinction that you all make between the reactive side and the proactive side of the investment, where you think that the proactive side of investment need to go up, while the reactive side is also is something where you have tremendous experience in. And then the role of partnership and knowledge, as you also emphasize, that there is so much knowledge that you acquire almost on a daily basis regularly, that is adding to your knowledge to be able to inform the community and the stakeholders so that some of these interventions could be even more effective. So with that, I'm sure we will have many questions and opportunity to engage with you further. But given today's short time, I want to thank you for connecting and for being available for this discussion. Thank you so much. So with that, gentlemen, and we indeed have two ladies. So I think, I want to thank the panelists. Then I would request you to take seat in the front row, please. And so this is not done yet. I'm going to continue because I'm going to invite three panelists from countries who you can call as users of the knowledge that you bring. So may I already have one gentleman from Turkey. We also have Natia Lotsanvili from Georgia. Please come. And then we have also Mr. Sharipov from Tajikistan. Please come on this stage. And I'm going to ask you a very simple question and your reactions in 5 minutes to 7 minutes each. But I will allow them to settle while I introduce you all. And I think I have the professor next to me who's been sitting very calmly. And Professor Küçük, he was born in 1974. I didn't need to get your date of birth. He's graduated from Karadeniz Technical University's Faculty of Forest. He completed his master's and doctorate in 2004. He became an associate professor in 2009 and professor in 2014. He served as vice chair, department chair, and director of Institute of Science, dean of Faculty of Forestry. Professor has been serving as vice rector of Kastamonu University since 2020. His area of expertise is forest fire, and he continues his studies on the subject. Other panelists that I have, Natia is the deputy head of the National Forest Agency of Georgia and assistant professor at Georgian Institute of Public Affairs. With over 20 years experience in drafting environmental protection and forestry legislation as previous legal document, she actually has contributed to development of institutional reform in the forestry sector and methodology for forest management. Mr. Sharipov from Tajikistan, he's a forestry and landscape management specialist with more than 30 years of experience in government institution in Republic of Tajikistan. Since 2022, he's been serving as Deputy Director of Forestry Agency under government of the Republic of Tajikistan. So I have three important and very informed users. And if you allow me to use this word, that you are on the ladder to acquire more experience and mature your system. So I have two small questions for you to reflect on, and I would start from this end with Professor. First is your reaction to what you heard from experts from different countries in terms of where do you see it aligns with system in your country. Second, if you can also say what is one or two specific area where you could learn from some of other countries, or you can teach them as well. So please reflect on those within the context of your country systems and what is that you need to strengthen. So Professor, let me start with you.
Hazırın, hepinizi saygıyla selamlıyorum. Çalıştayımızın Uluslararası Orman Yangınları Yönetimine hayırlar getirmesini temenni ediyorum. Gerek sabah gerekse öğleden sonraki oturumlarda birbirinden değerli konuşmacıların çok değerli sunumlarını ve bilgilendirmelerini izledik. Türkiye'de orman yangını yönetimi noktasında uluslararası ölçekte iştirak eden katılımcılarla örtüşen deneyimleri noktasındaki soruya şöyle cevap vermek gerekebilir. Aslında bütünleşik afet yönetim sistemine bakıldığında geçmişte özellikle afetler anında yapılan çalışmalar artık günümüzde afet öncesi proaktif çalışmaları öne çıkaran yaklaşımlara doğru kaydını görüyoruz. Türkiye'de de bu anlayış ciddi manada benimsenmiş durumdadır. Örnek vermek gerekirse uluslararası boyutta sabah ve öğleden sonraki konuşmalarda şunlar dile getirildi. Özellikle yangın öncesi önleyici tedbirler ya da risk azaltma tedbirlerine bakıldığında akıllı sistemler, erken uyarı sistemleri, yangın davranış modelleri, karar destek sistemleri noktasında Türkiye Avrupa ile veya dünya ile entegre bir şekilde, hatta bazı iyi uygulama örneklerini birazdan sizlere sunacağım. Özellikle toplumun katılımı noktasında ve farklı hedef grupların sisteme dahil edilmesi noktasında çok ciddi çalışmaları var. Bunlardan da ayrıntılı olarak bahsetmek istiyorum. Bunlar bir takım örtüşen ortak çalışmalar ama Türkiye'nin hem Avrupa'ya hem de dünyanın diğer ülkelerine örnek çalışmaları olduğunu inanıyorum ben en azından. Yaklaşık 30 yıldır bu işin içerisinde çalışan birisi olarak. Diğer taraftan şunu söylemek herhalde yanlış olmaz. Orman Genel Müdürlüğü 200 yıla yakın bir tecrübeye sahip, geçmişi olan bir kuruluş ve böyle bir kuruluşun hem tecrübesi hem teknik altyapısı hem de bilgisi noktasında orman yangınlarının yönetiminde de sahip olduğu bir yasası, mevzuatı noktasında önemli bir avantaja sahip. Hem merkezi yapılanması hem de ülke satında 81 ilde teşkilatlanması, kararların en uç noktaya anında iletilmesi ve uygulanması açısından büyük bir avantajı sağladığını görüyoruz. Yani Orman Genel Müdürlüğü bünyesinde yönetilen alanlar kanunla belirlenmiş, politikalarla, mevzuatlarla sınırları çizilmiş ve Orman Genel Müdürlüğü'ne bu noktada görevler tevdi edilmiştir. Dolayısıyla yetki ve görev karmaşası hiçbir şekilde bulunmamaktadır. En üst noktadan en ücra noktaya kadar da bu kanunlar, politikalar etkili bir şekilde uygulanmaktadır. Diğer bence çok önemli unsurlardan bir tanesi yönetilen orman alanları yıllardır, geçmiş yıllardan günümüze kadar uzanan yangın amenajman planları esas alınarak yönetilmektedir. Türkiye'de 20 yıllık plan dönemlerine dahil her bir meşre tipi ve bu meşre tiplerinde uygulanacak silvikültürel bakımlar ve bu silvikültürel bakımlara bağlı ormandan ne kadar yanıcı maddenin azaltılacağı, ne kadar biyokütlenin çıkartılacağı ve meşreye hangi oranda müdahale yapılacağı çok net bir şekilde bellidir. Ve hangi yıllarda buraya girileceği de bellidir. Dolayısıyla yangınlarla mücadelede proaktif yaklaşım dediğimiz yangın öncesi çalışmalarda yanıcı maddenin azaltılması hem planlama dahilinde hem de profesyonel bir yaklaşım da yapılmaktadır. Diğer bir taraftan belki diğer örnek olabilecek bir uygulama çıkan bu kesim artıkları, bakım artıkları aynı zamanda profesyonel olarak orman endüstri sektöründe değerlendirilmektedir. Yani ormanda yanıcı madde birikiminin olması söz konusu değildir. Tabii bunun yanında Türkiye yine meşre bakımları yanıcı madde yönetiminin yanında yangın öncesi özellikle riskli bölgelerde yangın emniyet yol ve şeritleri tesis etmektedir ki yangın anında yangın ekipmanların ve ekiplerinin kolaylıkla bir şekilde buralara ulaşması mümkün olabilmektedir. Bunun yanında ilaveten şunu da ifade edebiliriz. Yanıcı madde modelleriyle yangına hassas bölgelerde hangi tür alanlarda yangın çıktığında nasıl bir ekolojik, ekonomik etki oluşturabileceğini tahmin edebilen yaklaşımlar ve karar destek sistemleri mevcuttur. Özellikle kamuoyunun, halkın bilinçlendirilmesi ve toplumun katılımı noktasında örnek sayılabilecek ben bazı çalışmaları burada huzurlarınızda paylaşmak istiyorum. Bütün ülkelerde olduğu gibi ülkemizde de gerek sosyal medyada, gerek televizyonlarda, gerek radyolarda, kamu spotlarıyla orman yangınları konusunda bilgilendirmeler elbette yapılmaktadır. Ama bunu daha ileri taşıyarak Türkiye'de ilkokuldan başlayarak üniversite çağına kadar olan gençlerimizin Milli Eğitim Bakanlığı ve yükseköğretimle istişareler neticesinde yapılan çalışmalarla orman sevgisi ve yangın bilinci temalı eğitimler düzenlenmektedir. Dolayısıyla gerek orman sevgisi, gerek yangın öncesi ve yangın anında yapılacaklarla ilgili hususlar küçük yaşta bireylere kazandırılmaktadır. Diğer taraftan ülkemizde 131 bin gönüllü görev yapmaktadır. Tamamen gönüllülük sistemine bağlı olarak Orman Gönüllüleri Programı kapsamında binlerce vatandaşımız eğitime tabi tutulmakta ve acil durumlarda aktif olarak sahada görev yapmaktadırlar. Bunlar daha ziyade gözetleme, lojistik destek ve halkı bilgilendirme alanlarında faaliyetlerini sürdürmektedir. Diğer taraftan yine örnek çalışmalardan bir tanesi Orman Benim kampanyası. Ülke satında binlerce gönüllü ve vatandaşların katılımıyla ormanlarda özellikle yangın öncesinde temizlik faaliyetleri ve risk azaltma çalışmaları düzenli olarak gerçekleştirilmektedir. Diğer bir çalışma Yeşil Vatan projesiyle bütün Türkiye'nin ülke satında milyonlarca kişiye ulaşılmış hem orman koruma noktasında gerekli bilgiler toplumsal bilincin yükseltilmesi adına ve gönüllü katılımın teşvik edilmesi adına düzenli olarak yapılmaktadır. Tabii vatandaşın katılımı elbette önemli, karar destek sistemleri önemli, yanıcı madde yönetimi önemli, yangın amenajman planları ve orman amenajman planları entegre olarak bu stratejilerin geliştirilmesi önemli. Diğer taraftan yine yangını önleyici faaliyetler olarak şunu da ifade etmemiz mümkün. 776 kuleyle 24 saat Türkiye ormanları yangın öncesi özellikle riskli zamanlarda daha yoğun bir şekilde gözetlenmektedir. Meteoroloji erken uyarı sistemi, yapay zeka destekli meteorolojiden alınan verilerle yangına hassas bölgeler anlık olarak tahmin edilmektedir yangın öncesi ve vatandaşlar bu noktada bilgilendirilmektedir. Bunun bir ileri versiyonu hem meteorolojik parametreler hem de yanıcı madde özellikleri entegre edilerek yanıcı maddelere bağlı meteorolojik yangın indeksi sistemi de geliştirilmiş ve ülke genelinde bunlar kullanılmaktadır ve anlık veriler bütün paydaşlarımızla, yangınlarla mücadelede görev alacak paydaşlarımızla paylaşılmaktadır. Öyle ki sahip olunan ekipmanlar yangın organizasyonda, yangın hassasiyetine göre konum değişikliğine gidilebilir. Farklı lokasyonlarda bunlar görevlendirilmektedir. Yine orman yangınlarında en önemli faktörlerden bir tanesi su. Yangın söndürmede kullanılan etkili madde. Türkiye'de 4796 adet yangın havuz ve göleti, yapay ve doğal göletler bulunmakta. Yangın anında arazözler veya helikopterlerin yangın yönetim sistemi sayesindeki bu sistemde bütün araçlar kayıtlıdır. Türkiye'deki bütün yangın ekipmanları bu sistemde otomatik olarak izlenmektedir ve en yakın lokasyondaki araç yangına sevk edilmektedir ve bu ciddi manada tasarrufu da beraberinde getirmektedir. Hatta öyle ki eş zamanlı çıkan yangınlarda meştere yapısının, meştere özelliklerinin sistemde olduğunu biz gördüğümüz için hangi yangın daha önemli, hangi yangın daha öncelikli veya hangi yangın büyüme potansiyeli gösteriyor noktasında araçlar sistem üzerinden doğru bir şekilde yönlendirilmektedir ve öncelikli alanlara müdahale etmektedir. Söz gelimi, büyük yangınlar sabahtan beri konuşuldu. 2021 yılı bizim için önemli bir tecrübeydi. Ama şunu ifade etmek lazım, 28 Temmuz'dan 12 Ağustos arasına kadar 15 günlük süre içerisinde onlarca yangın, 16 tane büyük yangın diye nitelendirdiğimiz sınıftaki yangın, değerli arkadaşlar, eş zamanlı olarak çıkan yangınlar bunlar, 15 gün içerisinde kontrol altına alındı. Bu sistem sayesinde ve proaktif yaklaşımlar sayesinde. Yine sadece yangın anında değil, yangın öncesinde kritik bölgelerde gözetleme faaliyetlerinde kullanılmak üzere 14 tane İHA'mız aktif olarak görev yapmaktadır. Yani sahada yangın öncesi çalışmalar yapılırken aynı zamanda en son modern teknolojiler de entegre yangın sistemi içerisinde hem kara araçları hem de hava araçları olarak etkin bir şekilde kullanıldığını görmekteyiz. Ve buna bağlı olarak yangına müdahale esnasında kullandığımız, şu ana kadar inşa edilen yangın yolları 10.000 kilometre civarındadır. Ve her yıl planlama dahilinde riskli alanlarda bu sayı artırılmaktadır. Ve yangınlarla mücadelede 1600 yangın söndürme ekibimiz, profesyonel yangın söndürme ekibimiz görev yapmakta ve sadece saha içerisinde yapılan uygulamaların yanında özellikle eğitim faaliyetleri noktasında Antalya'da inşa edilen Uluslararası Yangın Eğitim Merkezi'nde sadece ülkemize değil, dünyanın farklı ülkelerinde yangın konusunda çalışanlara profesyonel yangın eğitimleri verilmektedir ki burada gerçek arazi şartlarının yansıtıldığı simülasyon modelleriyle beraber hem bizim yangın uzmanlarımız hem operatörlerimiz hem de yurt dışından gelen diğer uzmanlar burada ciddi manada eğitim almaktadır. Modern yangın ekipmanlarının yanında CBS tabanlı risk analizi yapan, günlük haritalar üreten kara destek sistemleri, Türkiye Orman Yangınları Tehlike Oranları sistemi de etkin olarak kullanılmaktadır. Bunun alt bileşenlerine baktığımızda bir taraftan yangın davranışının tahmin sistemi geliştiriliyor, bir taraftan meteorolojik yangın indeksi kullanılıyor, bir taraftan da yangın çıkma ihtimalini tahmin sistemiyle ilgili çalışmalar yürütülmektedir. Yani özetlemek gerekirse hem erken uyarı izleme sistemleri etkin bir şekilde yürütülmekte, hem güçlü koordinasyon ve komuta merkeziyle yangın ekipmanları profesyonelce yönetilmekte, diğer taraftan gönüllü sistemi etkin bir şekilde uygulanmakta, modern yangın ekipmanları kullanımının yanında CBS tabanlı yapay zeka destekli akıllı uygulamalarla haritalamalar ve analizler yapılmaktadır. Geçmiş sorgulamalarda bunlar gerçekleştirilmektedir. En önemlisi ki yangının çıkış sebebi olarak bütün dünyada ortak kabul edilen insan faktörünün ağırlıklı olduğunu düşünerek toplumsal farkındalık çalışmaları, kampanyalar ciddi manada yürütülmektedir ve elbette uluslararası işbirliği noktasında da bu tür çalışmalara açık olduğumuzu ifade etmek istiyoruz. Netice itibariyle şunu söyleyerek sözlerime son vermek isterim. Türkiye orman yangınlarıyla mücadelede sahip olduğu bilgi birikimi, teknolojik altyapısı ve güçlü insan kaynağıyla sadece kendi sınırları içerisinde değil, tüm dünyada hakikaten örnek alınabilecek liderlik potansiyeline sahip uygulamaları gerçekleştirmektedir. Akdeniz kuşağında yıllardır süren zorlu mücadeleler neticesinde Türkiye hakikaten orman yangınları konusunda benzersiz bir tecrübeye ve deneyime sahip olmuştur. Dolayısıyla bu yapı bizi uzmanlık anlamında Akdeniz'de bir merkez haline getirmiştir. Türkiye'nin yangın yönetiminde geliştirdiği bu yenilikçi uygulamalar, erken uyarı sistemleri, hızlı müdahale organizasyonu ve toplumsal katılım modellerinin ve bunların işbirliği ve birlikte çalışma kültürü kapsamında paylaşmaya, yangın yönetimde uluslararası işbirliğinin merkezi olmaya ve küresel çözümün öncüsü olmaya hazır olduğunu ifade etmek isteyerek sözlerimi tamamlıyorum. Teşekkür ediyorum.
Thank you, Professor Ömer. I think this is really good and elaborate response, and I really congratulate Turkey for showing the leadership in this area. Also, I think you have well-functioning structure, as you said that you all are relying on the whole prediction and the early warning system. So your systems seem to be working very well, and I'm sure there are lots that others can learn from. Turkey is a great example. So we are looking forward to sharing of this information. So let me move to the other panelists in this case. Natia, if you can also, same question as I asked Professor. Could you just spend another, 5-7 minutes try and do that in the interest of time?
Thank you.
Is the microphone working? All right.
So thank you, Sanjay and Prof. It's a green light, so it should be working.
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay, yeah. So hopefully all you heard me. So first of all, I would like to take this opportunity and begin with words of appreciation to the organizers of this meeting, starting from the decision makers to the technical staff, because it was highlighted several times at such events when we have a possibility to gain and share knowledge and experience. It's like a big step towards to our country's development, and it's a strengthening of the work to which we are dedicated. So today, and I also would like to thank the government of Turkey and not only for hosting us these days, because for the support they extend to my country. Even 2 years ago, when we had the largest forest fire cases in one of the region of Georgia. So we remember that help, and we are truly grateful for this. And well, today I made lots of notes, and thanks to all presenters and to these interventions that gave us information, comprehensive information about all 4 phases of crisis management, but I will focus on the prevention and preparedness, as our session is aimed and targeted on it. And this was like, for me, confirmation that we, Georgia, we are on the right way, right path. We take them because I would say that maybe forest fire, it's not a biggest problem for now for Georgia. If we compare figures presented here, even South Korea in 2025, it was more than 100,000 hectares burned. Yeah, it's unbelievable for us, for Georgians, because yes, we have some average fire cases, 40 or 60 cases per year, but area is not so huge. But we observed that this became more and more problematic, and take into consideration the climate change trends. We do know that we have to be prepared. We should be prepared and equipped with best knowledge for better maintenance and preserve our natural forests, because Georgia, fortunately, have an opportunity to, and our forest remains as a natural primary forest. Even we still have untouched forests in the Caucasus Mountains. Plus, the differences between majority of the countries is that our forests, they are mountainous forests. 89% of them, they are located on the high slopes, 30 degrees and more. So this is a, I would say, headache for the foresters, for forest management, and for the, of course, fire rescue groups. And we do know that even the best practices and all brilliant experience what we heard from previous presenters can't be replicated directly. We have to consider these very specific differences, starting from the natural condition to the cultural condition. But I catched very important topics, and the problem and challenges, it's same for all countries, I think. Human resources and financial resources, they are never enough for implementing well-designed response plans or well-designed strategic document on the ground. So, but for us, what we made past 5 years, we updated our legislation, and they are connected to the forest code, for instance, contain all fire management issues, and they are connected to the climate plans as well. It was a suggestion, recommendation from our colleagues from South Korea. We're trying to update it or create new databases about risk zones, categories of forests, but we still gap in the adapting fire detection and early warning systems based on the climate parameters. What Australia has a great experience on it. Knowledge management, it's a crucial part, I think, because for the prevention and readiness, what's the important things? This is a knowledge, this is a coordination, this is a sustainability of this boss, I would say. So we have some modules updated for our foresters. They are trained annually, but I just observed that this knowledge management system which Australia has, it will be very interesting for us to know more about these processes. Coordination among the responsible state institutions for fast response, clear responsibilities, which is distributed among all state institutions, and not only because for the saving resources, for fast response, it's from my point of view, it's a crucial part as well to have community-based and voluntary systems established. And in Georgia, we have lack of such experience. I do know USA practice. It's very impressive how they, with these voluntary systems, can save resources and have such a great results. And information and awareness raising. Because what the main causes for forest fire, in my country, 89% or more, this is for humans. For starting from, not only they are making fireplace or picnic fires in the wrong places in the forest, even waste pollution, even other poaching or some such activities, they can be as a source of forest fire. Agriculture burning, which is a worthless practice. For this, for transfer this information, right transfer for the information and awareness raising, some information campaigns, like a smoky beer, it's a good example for youth practice. Yeah, everyone, even the kids, they know that only we can prevent forest fires. So what we're trying to do now in Georgia to strengthen this part of awareness raising campaigns. We are starting from the April until September. We have targeted information campaigns through all channels, which is available, social media, which is more popular now with the books or journals and so on and so on. So I'll be brief because I know that we have a limited in time, and once again, I would like to thank the short movie on the morning. It was ended by the words that we have to be together against the common enemy. In the coats of arms of Georgia also written that strength is in unity, and today I feel that we together, this society, forest fire society, can be strengthened all prevention and mitigation in our countries and not only for the planet. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Natia. I think this is. I mean, I'm really thankful to you for picking up all the key points from last several good presentations. You know, the focus on saying that the problems are very similar. You also said that now listening to everybody that you're on the right track. You also mentioned the role of knowledge. There's so much of knowledge available to learn from each other. You also emphasized the whole coordination and the institutional side of the clear coordination. You also said that information sharing and this community of practice is actually going to be very useful to bilaterally connect and ask them questions saying, this is the trouble I'm having, how do I address it? So it's a great expertise available in every country. You make friends, you have their emails, you have their texts, and in fact, we don't really need to do government to government, but even at an individual level, so establishing this. So I think thank you for picking up all the key points, but in the interest of time, I need to go to Mr. Sharipov. Same question in terms of your comment on various experts that you heard, and then also how does it apply to your country?
Добрый день всем. Позвольте от себя лично выразить благодарность Министерству сельского хозяйства и лесного хозяйства Турецкой Республики, Всемирному банку, всем партнерам по развитию за организацию такой встречи. Но прежде чем вступать, отвечать на ваши вопросы, у меня была презентация. Я могу отвечать на ваши вопросы через свою презентацию, пожалуйста. Можно? У меня презентация была тут.
Yeah. Just keep it very short if it is possible. So can we load his presentation, Leela?
My presentation. Слышно меня? Уважаемые коллеги, я понимаю, что конец рабочего дня, все устали, но прошу внимания всего 70 минут. Я немного хочу вас познакомить о ситуации пожарной безопасности в Таджикистане. Можно презентацию? Пошли. Если нет возможности показывать презентацию, я могу переходить просто так. Уважаемые коллеги, Республика Таджикистан является малолесной страной. Всего леса занимают около 3% ее территории и составляют площади более 420 тысяч гектаров. Хотя территория лесов незначительна, но они играют важную экологическую, экономическую и социальную роль, а также играют важную функцию в обеспечении жизнедеятельности сельского населения. Агентство лесного хозяйства как государственное... Окей. Перехожу на презентацию. Next. Окей. Территория Таджикистана, как я отметил, очень малолесная страна, но леса занимают в основном горные территории, 3% от общей территории Таджикистана составляет площадь более 420 тысяч гектаров. Несмотря на это, правительство Республики Таджикистан особое внимание выделяет лесному сектору. Принята государственная программа развития лесного сектора на период до 2026 года, в котором особо отмечаются вопросы обеспечения пожарной безопасности лесов. В рамках плана мероприятий по реализации данной программы предусмотрены восстановление пожарно-химических станций, которые функционировали раньше. При поддержке программы Всемирного банка, проекта Всемирного банка устойчивого управления ландшафтами «Резилен», мы приобретали технику, противопожарную технику, и восстанавливаем те противохимические станции, противопожарные станции, которые существовали раньше. А также мы с целью предотвращения лесных пожаров обычно проводим мероприятия, которые включают в себя строительство и ремонт противопожарных дорог, устройство минерализованных полос и другие. В рамках тоже этого плана мероприятий проекта мы планируем составлять обновленные карты пожарной безопасности лесов. С учетом изменений климата мы будем составлять новые карты пожарной опасности лесов в Таджикистане. Существует законодательная основа обеспечения пожарной безопасности. Это в основном Лесной кодекс Республики Таджикистан, который был принят в 2011 году, а также закон Республики Таджикистан о пожарной безопасности, который включает в том числе обеспечение пожарной безопасности в лесах, регулирует эти вопросы. Кроме того, у нас есть правила пожарной безопасности в лесах Республики Таджикистан, утверждением Агентством лесного хозяйства как уполномоченный государственный орган, и другие нормативные правовые акты, подзаконные акты, которые принимаются на этих основах. Как я ответил раньше, противопожарные мероприятия включают это строительство и ремонт противопожарных дорог, устройство минерализованных полос, а также установление предупреждающих аншлагов, как на фотографии вы видите, а также проведение разъяснительных мероприятий среди населения, особенно в населенных пунктах, которые приближены к лесным территориям и местах массового отдыха населения и другие мероприятия. Какие угрозы в основном лесные пожары в Таджикистане явление редкое, но с учетом горного рельефа территории, недоступности и недостаточная дорожная инфраструктура, нехватка квалифицированных кадров и слабой материально-технической базы лесных хозяйств на местах, и с учетом изменений климата, они сейчас больше вызывают беспокойство. Другой угрозой, которую мы считаем в данное время, это на вновь созданных лесных участках, лесных культурах, лесокультурных площадях, можно сказать, сухая растительность очень вызывает больше беспокойства с учетом сухости климата в летний период. И мы проводим мероприятия по сенокошению в междурядьях. Это бывают случаи, которые, если не вовремя выполняют вот эти противопожарные мероприятия, случаются иногда редкие пожары. Как отметила коллега из Грузии, хотя, опять говорю, явления у нас редкие и ущербы небольшие, но с учетом важности этих вызовов, они тоже для нас вызывают беспокойство. Следующее можно отметить, что дополнительные меры, которые мы будем принимать с учетом предотвращения лесных пожаров, это повышение подготовленности и осведомленности всех слоев общества по обеспечению пожарной безопасности и их оперативной мобилизации в случае возникновения лесных пожаров. Второе – это организация деятельности по взаимодействию всех органов государственной власти. Как отметили предыдущие выступающие, особая важность имеет координация деятельности всех слоев общества и органов государственной власти при возникновении пожаров. И особое можно отметить, внимание выделить по оперативности реагирования в случае возникновения лесных пожаров, так как оперативность играет важную роль в своевременном тушении лесных пожаров. Проблемы, которые я отметил по вопросам обеспечения пожарной безопасности в лесах Таджикистана, это нехватка квалифицированных кадров и недостаточное знание существующих кадров об использовании новых технологий управления лесными пожарами, особенно по мониторингу и контролю за ними, и слабая материально-техническая база лесных хозяйств. Наши предложения по улучшению ситуации противопожарной безопасности в лесах – это повышение потенциала знания работников, уровня знания работников лесных хозяйств и противопожарных служб путем обмена опытом с международными центрами, коллегами из других стран, которые имеют успешный опыт борьбы с лесными пожарами. И техническая поддержка лесных хозяйств и противопожарных служб. Спасибо вам за внимание. Благодарю.
Thank you, Mr. Sharipov. I think you really highlighted that despite not having a major forestry problem in your country, yet I think your willingness to learn from others is actually quite nice. And as you mentioned that while you have a law in place, but then there is a lot of areas where you can learn, particularly from other countries who have more experience. Of course, the good part is that you don't have a bigger problem on forest fire. But you have a mountainous terrain, you do construct roads, you can construct infrastructure, but there is much to learn in terms of data management and evidence management and use of technology. And I think so this particular forum and event also provides you to get in touch with the countries and expert groups so that you can start talking to them on how to strengthen your own system. So thank you all for sharing your thoughts here. And thank you to all panelists from Korea, from France, from Australia, from Canada, from US, from Tajikistan, from Georgia, from Turkey. I think it's been a very, very rich experience sharing. And I have personally learned a lot. So thank you so much, guys. And I hope this may not be the last meeting of mine or sharing of knowledge. Perhaps, we can find an excuse through our honorable guest in Turkey, through Center of Excellence, that we can continue to create and compile knowledge so that everybody can use it in a way that is actually tailor-made for this specific requirement. With that, I think it's been a long day. And thank you all for tremendous patience and keep the smile on your face despite being tired. So thank you so much for coming today and enjoying the day. We have certainly enjoyed, and thank you, panelists, for your time and effort. And a round of applause is in order. Thank you.